Did a quick fix make your swing worse? Wayne Defrancesco will get your swing back on track at wdglc.com.
Hey there everybody, it's Wayne Defrancesco and welcome to the website. Hopefully you're enjoying the club site and we're making it worth your while. So we're going to look at Mark Wilson, won last week's tournament. Not a very big guy, only weighs 145 pounds I think, 5'8", my size when I was in college. I'm a little heavier now. But always nice to continue to see the little guys out there winning. It just goes to show you that there's all sorts of ways to play golf, just like there's all sorts of ways to swing a golf club, which you're going to see here. Because as conventional as Mark might look, he is decidedly unconventional in many ways. But as always, if you're going to be as good as he is, there's going to be some pretty good stuff in there, and it's going to balance out with the things that are a little bit unconventional. Now, some of the stuff, when I call it unconventional, there's a little bias there because it may just be not the kind of thing I prefer, but if you watch all my stuff, I don't criticize these guys. I simply make observations, and I might compare it to, what I might, teach somebody as a general rule. But we're looking at guys that win and are great players, so I have the highest respect for their abilities and their technique, and that's why it's interesting to look at. So let's take a peek. This swing on the right was from tournament he won last year, right around the same time. I think it was the Arizona tournament. And the one on the left here was from the other day, in the final round. So these are two still cameras, and that's why I'm using these two shots, because all the other ones were held. So obviously the driver's swing, the camera's a little far away and kind of low, but we can generally see some good stuff whenever the camera is still. So with the driver, you can really see his head moving backwards and down as he hits the ball. So that's an interesting thing. In the backswing, pretty classic right load. See a tiny little slide back of the hips. No loss of knee flex in the right. And, for a driver, a pretty standard hip slide. Now, one odd thing you'll see here, and with a swing that kind of looks classic to the eye, you'll see his hips stall right there. So his left leg will snap and re-bend, which stops the hips. Just if you know what you're looking at, you might notice it a little bit at regular speed. You can see the little hesitation in the knees down at the bottom there as he hits the ball and goes past it. Now, so that's an interesting thing. When we look at his swing from behind, I'll show you why I think that happens. Now, the tempo here is one of the most different things about Mark's swing, and it's unlike any tempo that I've measured. It's 27 and 6.
Need help with your swing? Get an online lesson from Wayne at wdglc.com.
Now at 6, nobody gets to the ball really in 6. 7 is pretty fast. So that measurement is from the very first movement of the club forward, which you can see the catch here and the bending of the shaft, and then right there, that's a forward movement, and then you count it up. So with the computer, you double the count. So here we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 10, 11, 12. Well, that was 6.5. If I count that as 1. So the club will just sit there. Maybe if that's a set, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The ball's gone. See, nobody does that. Ernie Els gets to the ball in 9. Now, it's the epitome of what you would call a hard catch. And it's especially hard since the backswing is relatively slow. So what he'll do is he'll lift the club up to get started. You can see the club come up and then go. See it get off the ground there. And it's real deliberate, but it's built into his tempo, so he's just sort of making his way back. Takeaway is kind of gentle. It's not a fling at all. This is not Hogan in the backswing, but in the catch and go, tremendous amount of shaft pressure. And that is what makes his arm position work for him. So let's take a look from behind. This is I think it's a tee shot hit with maybe a hybrid club here. Not sure if this is a par 3. Might be a par 3. Anyway, the camera is probably out toward the ball just a little bit too much, which always takes the club and makes it look slightly under. But we can still look at the rest of the lines. You just can't compare it to a swing that's got the camera more in on the hands. So we'll see a little compression here in the backswing, almost a little forward movement of the head, definitely reminiscent of Hogan. A little more lowering there. Then as he hits it, and this is something that you see quite often, it's a little more lowering after impact, right there into the follow-through as he digs his hips back to the left. So you don't see any gain in hip depth here. It's a pretty held position with the right leg. Does have a little pullback. Not much going on. You know, it's a relatively small amount of hip turn. As he winds the thing up, the overall movement is pretty deep, and you'll see that the right arm, the right elbow, and this would be true even if the camera was different, is well off the side of the body. So that's pretty winged out there. That's real deep. Now it doesn't gain much height, but it's pretty deep. So when he comes down, and this is something I've been pointing out, the club is a little on the crossy side here. Now, watch where the end of the grip goes, and this is the key move that allows his swing to really work nicely. Watch the hands, right down on the high line. The club shallows and bends. A lot of stress there. Now, what allows him to take that movement and not come in real high is he leaves his arm behind him. So you can see his right arm is not really in front of him like a Hogan. It's more to his side. Club comes, well, again, it's going to look in because of the camera angle. But here's the interesting, the release, since the right arm is back behind the body, legs are opening up nicely, but the right leg is chasing just a little bit in front of the box. You can see it go there. So pretty much, I would imagine he hits mostly a little right to left shot. Now look at the chase, a la Ricky Fowler. Those hands are in to out somewhat. So if you were going to call a swing, you know, a little more down the line, you might call this one down the line. But I'll show you a couple of pictures which would tell you that if anything is down the line, it's just a little bit more so than other guys because nothing is down the line. That's impossible. Obviously, the ball is taken off here, and the club is not going down that line. It's just probably going, you know, a little bit less to the left than some other guys. And that's because the right arm is straightening to the right. And the right hand is turning over. The left arm is moving not with the chest but out away from it a bit. But he drives his hips inward after that right leg chases a little bit and goes out. So right in here, now this is where the hip stall is. So think about it, if the arms, the body's trying to rotate way over here to finish, the arms are more or less heading out this way. There's going to be a little bit of a disconnect period right in the middle of that. So consider the momentum of the hands pulling the knees forward a little bit. And especially if the left leg straightens and all that force is pulling it still, so it'll rebend, and that gives it that little stoppage right there. And when it rebends, watch the waistline here, it's going to lower. See that? So you see that quite a bit. I've taught a number of kids that do that. I usually try to train them out of it, but they're not as good as Mark Wilson is. So again, you can see he stresses the shaft on every swing, and those hands come right out. And then the big difference here is that the right arm stays back, and then the hands chase out. So the combination of that interesting tempo, which 27 and 6, with the right arm back, giving him more of a shaft plane approach, but the out move of the hands brings the shaft in a real nice spot where it doesn't get stuck at all. So pretty cool to watch. Now, his routine, which was interesting, his routine, you'll watch this one. So on this particular shot, he was getting right ready to hit, and something flew in front of his face, so he's going to back up. Now, I've gone through this before. I find it pretty cool. If you count the time in which he steps his right foot forward to the time he hits the ball, it's going to be about 12 or 13 seconds. That's almost like a rule of thumb, as I did Schwartzel, a couple other guys, and it just, and Oosthuizen as well. Watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14. I may have counted a little faster. Anyway, my suggestion to you is that when you work on your routine, that time frame between, say, 10 and 14 seconds is exactly what you're looking for. I remember Darren Clark, I did him, he was a little bit faster. Wilson looks down at the ball a little bit longer after he, so if you watch, he's going to look up, he's going to look back. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a long one. That's a long look there. Most guys only take 2 after the last look. So, now I did have a couple of swings here I wanted to show you. This one really will show you the path of that shaft coming down. You can see it, just beautiful. So here's another instance of, you can see where the ball's taken off and where the club is going. So here's the, so again, it's a little bit, you can see his hands are here, it's a little more out. So I would just call this a little bit of a chase release. See the right arm straighten. But please don't call this down the line, because it's not. Never is. Alright, so Mark Wilson. Interesting swing. Great player. And he's my size, so I'm always rooting for my guys.